Hey witches, welcome to week 6 of our journey through the tarot.
This week, we continue exploring the minor arcana and the suits of Swords and Pentacles.
You'll want to have the suits of Swords and Pentacles separated and in order from Ace to King for this lesson.
Starting with Swords, we'll explore the overall meaning of the suit, paying special attention to repeating patterns or motifs and what those represent.
We'll repeat this process with the suit of Pentacles.
So grab your cards and a notebook and let's jump into the elements of air and earth represented by the suits of Swords and Pentacles. Is our camera mostly straight? Because I knocked this thing around a bunch of times. Looks mostly straight. I think we're good. Okay.
I think so.
Thank you, Tracy. Yes, thank you. Okay. I think we're ready to get started, you guys. Yes?
Okay.
All right.
So everybody has their, we're just talking about elements. This week we're talking about the elements of air and earth.
My brain is blank. Oh my God, I'm gonna blank out so bad. Thank you.
Because I was like, do you have your cards out? You don't need your cards out. We're just talking.
You can look at them though. It's
you
helpful.
You want me to start?
Go ahead. You can start.
Okay.
And I will catch up.
Because I know you had the stress of all of this. Well, I had the stress of all of that. So we're starting with the suit of Swords, which is the element of air.
Yes.
And air is all about our mental processes. So it's associated with thoughts, logic, and communication. Mm-hmm. The element of air, intellect, fortitude, logical thinking is part of everyone. Although I don't know, some people might not.
I took that joke out. I actually was like, I bet we all know a few people who we don't think are on our same level. But then I was like, that's rude.
Well, that's true.
I mean, or people above us. I mean, Jeff Bezos, he has something that I definitely don't have. I didn't start Amazon. So there's those creators that are more mentally inclined. Probably.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And it's kind of intimidating when you meet somebody who's like uber smart and then you don't feel like that. This is my personal experience. You don't feel like you have anything to talk about of note. So
I'll just ask them if they have a cat.
Okay. So in Swords, what we see, if we look at the suit of Swords, we see a lot of difficult situations, and these are related to, when we say difficult situations, these are the things that we think about. So remember the saying, we're always saying what we think about, we bring about. So what we're seeing in the suit of Swords we see people in different poses and situations, but it's a mental thing. So when you look at Swords, don't look at the actual person doing the thing that they're doing. Look at the swords and what are the swords actually doing, because that's the element of air. So let's use this. Last week we used a spectrum, like high, elevated, or low thoughts.
Low hands up. We got the base level.
Yeah. We got
high level.
I'm not going to do that this time because I think everybody got it. So using a spectrum again, we think of the quality of our thoughts. So when we think of Swords, we're thinking about the thoughts and the quality of our thoughts and whether those are low level thoughts or high level thoughts. And we're going to give you some examples of what that might be.
And it's the quality of our mind that we're thinking about. So it's not like good and bad necessarily, but quality, which we struggled with a word to find for that.
Yeah. It's like state of mind. Where's your state of mind?
Yeah.
Is it like down in the dumps and you're really down on yourself, or you're down on the world, or you're down on like all of the possibilities? Or do you have, are you thinking positively? And because as we said again, what we think about, we bring about. So
we manifest. That's part of this manifestation.
So at a base level, we have low quality thoughts where our thinking is impractical, irrational, and even paralyzed, where we're just stuck.
Like you can't make a decision. That's how low quality you get sometimes when you're stressed or overworked or whatever you have going on in your life. It becomes like the paralyzed. That was the word we chose for that. And
I can give you an example of something. So I had like a recent situation where I had a little health scare, and the first thing I thought was like, oh my God, I'm too young for, I'm too young to die. Right. And I also don't want to know. And then on the other hand of that, I can't not know. Right. So after I let all of these, cause I had this little scare right with my body where I was like, what the hell is this? And, And so after I went through this range of thoughts where I was like, I don't want to know, I'm too young to die. Then I'm like, I'm not going to think like that, because if I think I'm going to die, or if I think I'm going to get cancer, then I'm going to get cancer. So I'm not going to think about cancer. And so then I'm like, okay, so what can I do proactively? So I looked up something online. I was like, all right, I'm going to wait 1 week. If this still is occurring, I'll take action. So that's how I talked myself out of this, from this really low level, like
kind of
fear,
declining,
you know,
declining into fear.
so that's just a personal example that I'm sharing with you, and maybe you guys can relate to having a similar situation. So again, our thinking, when we're thinking low quality thoughts, it's impractical, irrational, or paralyzed. We can't do anything. Here's a couple of examples besides being fearful and worrying about things that you can't control. Gossiping, bullying, arguing are all examples of low quality thoughts.
And I don't know if you guys have ever met somebody who, it's just like every time you run into them, they want to find something to one up you on, argue with you about. Like, it's just always got to be, I'm different. I'm, I guess competitiveness, or, you know, I don't know what drives them truly, but you can't ever have an easy just conversation where you exchange ideas and it's like, and walk away peacefully. It has to end in like, well, why don't you just, you know, hey, why don't we not talk?
You may have a family member like I had, who every time we got together, he just wanted to talk about all the bad shit that happened when we were kids. And I was like, I mean, we're like in our 40s now. Are we not? Can we move past that and have a different kind of conversation?
Yeah.
But he was stuck.
Yeah.
He was stuck in that, you know, victim mode, or
just the lower quality thoughts that aided him all the time. And it's a habit that we get into.
So when we're thinking these types of things, our words can become weapons.
Words can be weapons.
Words can be weapons.
That's where we see the swords really hitting home, with like thoughts and words that then are used as like to battle each other. That's going to come up.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when we're having high quality thoughts, we're being level-headed, we have clarity, we're in control of our own mind and what we're thinking about, we're communicating effectively. And examples of these might be mantras, and
using mantras,
meditations, working through therapy, and even doing shadow work. So even though shadow work and like therapy might seem like you're getting into something that pulls up a lot of bad stuff, you're being proactive about it so that you can solve problems. We do sometimes have to dip into those areas to promote healing, to grow out of the habit, to acknowledge it and say, okay, how do I change that? This is all reflected in the suit of swords. Yes.
Where are you at so I can pick up?
I'm at a few high low.
Oh yes, we came up with some statements like we did for the other cards, where it's on the ends of the spectrum. I'm holding my hands up because I think the spectrum thing is great to understand that there's like all the way to this side and all the way to this side.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you can read it.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm the hand.
Okay. A few high-low associations. So complimenting yourself.
High quality thoughts.
Negative self-talk. I'm fat. I'm stupid. I'm ugly. Low.
Nobody loves me.
Definitely low.
Yeah.
Okay. Honesty.
When you're being honest.
And manipulation.
A narcissist. That's all I could think about. I tried really hard not to put that in my notes, but they're all about manipulation. So,
and then knowing every situation has a purpose versus worrying about what you can't change or control.
So we waste energy thinking about things that we can't change or control, mental energy. And then while we're thinking that every situation has a purpose, like with Kat's situation she just talked about, she turned something around for herself where she would have gone into this like spiral of like, oh my God, something's wrong. She says, no, I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to change the way I think. I'm going to be, you know, I don't want to say be positive. That's such a misused thing, but it's too vague. But she changed her thinking so that she could be more hopeful about the future and what was possibly happening with her.
And I had to make the decision to do that. I had to make the decision to not be fearful and go down that spiral where you can think of all the worst possible things that could happen if this thing that you're worried about happens, which that's what we do. Our thoughts can be really our
habits that we form, you know, from people we see to just in general, you can fall into the bad habit of You know, it's like road rage for me, where it just stressed me out to drive. That was just a habit I fell into. I didn't need to get pissed all the time. I could
And I
just be like,
almost feel like it's almost human nature to go down the dark path first. We sort of have to practice pulling ourselves back out of that. And what we will see when we look at each one of the swords is we will see people in distressful situations. And so that, and it's actually not people, but what it is the thoughts have put them there to where they are either they're struggling. And swords, so when you have a lot of swords in a reading or you get a lot of swords, that's an indication that you're having a tough time with some things. But a lot of it is, I don't want to say all in your head, but it's literally all in your thinking. Your quality.
That's what being in control of your own mind is about, is not thinking a thought unless you truly want to.
Yeah.
Sounds weird. Just ruminate on that for a minute.
Okay.
So a quick note on the swords associations with the zodiac signs, because we are really focusing on the elements. Remember, tonight we're not going through all the descriptions of the cards and what they mean, but we're focusing on the element of air within the swords cards. So for Gemini, the Gemini statement is, I think. And I kind of added on to that using logic. So we want to know that so I think is the Gemini statement, but then using logic is what I added to it so that we understand how it connects with our mental processes. With Libra, it's I balance, of course, the scales that the Libra has. And for that, I put using reason. So they are really weighing, right? They're using reason to come to a balanced situation. With Aquarius, it's I know. And I love this one because it's like, it's so firm. Like, I know what the hell I'm doing. I know what's going on. I know. But it's more, I know because I'm using my independence. Like, they know for themselves. They don't have to necessarily be the know-it-all, but they know their truth. They know their thoughts. So like the swords, I lost it. Hold on. Like these signs, that's what I actually meant to say. Swords signifies power of the mind. It's intellect and honesty and inventiveness even. So that's the power to sort of create with your thoughts.
Okay, switching gears, let's talk about card symbology. All the sword cards have swords being held, stabbed, or mounted. So that's the actions that those swords are taking. Remember, and again, remember, swords are thoughts. Swords present challenging situations, but they provide us an opportunity to learn and grow. And that's what life's tough times, as much as we dislike them, they do help us grow and learn to get through tough situations,
or to hopefully become better than you were. You put through a tough time, you're tested, your resilience, your everything, your skill sets are really put to the test, and then you grow a little bit, and then it's like, okay, now I can skate for a little while, and then another tough time. And that's sort of what the swords cards do for us mentally. We learn how to grow through life's difficulties. The suit is associated with conflict and strife, as you'll see in the pictures. And it's both internal and external. So if you think that looking at these cards feels like difficult to understand, you're right, because they are really complicated, because they can just apply to so much. The words that we say, think about this with people, the words that people say, the words that we say ourselves can really reveal the quality of our thoughts. The way that we think about ourselves or we think about other people is really expressed in the words that we say every single day. We're going to get right into the cards and their descriptions then.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So with the ace, we see a crowned thought. Right. We have that picture up. So we have a crown and a sword, and we are experiencing a high quality of mind with the ace of swords.
And so if you remember, we're, instead of using the word sword, we're using a word that represents sword. So in this part, all of the swords that we're going to talk about, we're just going to say it's a thought. So when you see the sword on the card, replace the definition or the description with the word thought. So the thought is blank. The what is the thought doing as far as within the scene, like she said, being stabbed, mounted, or held, right? That gives you more reference, I feel like, to understanding what the card's about when you think about the sword as a thought and how the person is wielding it or what's happening with it.
Okay, in the 2, can you go to the next card, please?
What? Technical difficulties. Hold on. Okay. 2. Okay.
In the 2, we see thoughts as a barrier. And here we are experiencing a low quality of mind.
Yeah. So as her position with the swords, with the thoughts, they're in front of her, guarding her or being that barrier.
In 3, in this 3 of Swords, we see thoughts stabbing at the heart. Gosh, who can't relate to this?
I mean, just saying it that way, that your
Yeah.
thoughts could literally stab your heart. Have you ever had thoughts that make you cry? Like, I recently lost a pet, and anytime I think of them, it's like I just lose it. I cannot help it. So those are my thoughts piercing my heart. Like, the more that I think them, it's going to continue to hurt.
And with this, in this situation, we're experiencing low quality of mind.
So you're in that lower state, yeah.
With the 4.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna remember that I gotta hit the button.
Okay. With the 4, we see thoughts mounted on a wall. This is a mind at rest. And we're experiencing high quality here in this situation.
When we're taking reprieve from the everyday, rest is really important to let our minds reset so that our influence doesn't come from just the outside world. So the mounted swords being still.
And you know what? It's it reminds you about meditation, why meditation is so helpful for us, because we give our minds a break from all the monkey chatter. And we go into this place where we're thought free, if you will.
Right. You're just being, like, you're trying to just be without attaining goals. All of the other cards are like, all the other suits are going away.
I'll let you do 5.
Oh, okay. With 5, I put words. I put words as weapons because I guess it's not so much thoughts that I see here, but I really think about wielding words as weapons. So you can use words instead of thoughts on any of these cards as well, but the words are weapons to defeat others. I mean, when you say it like that, can you really feel the scene within this card that he wins the argument? He's got all of these words on his side because the other people had to walk away. So we're experiencing a low quality of mind when we're in that place where it's like you need to win the argument at the cost of other people, or you're using your words to hurt people so that they'll walk away, whatever that is.
This is bullying words here. So
yeah, it could be bullying, taking advantage, pushing people down, the manipulation, the narcissist that's like, keep him low so that they don't leave.
Well, make people feel like shit about themselves.
Making people feel small. They're even smaller than him in the card. To the 6. Oh, you got it? Yeah, look at you. Okay. The 6 is an interesting card that I just gained a new perspective on because the swords are stabbed into the boat, right? So the thoughts or words are stabbed into the getaway boat because they are getting away. Their backs are turned to us. We're experiencing a high quality of mind, though, even though it looks like a sad card, you are actually pulling yourself out of a bad situation. And what Kat said to me the other day was like, you take those hurtful words with you, like you don't get to take, people can't take them back. You carry that thing with you on your journey away from the situations. So that's why the card still feels sad, I think, because the words are still stuck in the boat, and instead of making it leak, it's plugging the hole. So if we just think about the mechanics of that, I love it.
Well, and I think when you say mean words to people, you can never take those back. We all know that. And yet sometimes we do it. So those words, once they're out of your mouth and they're directed at somebody that you care about and who cares about what you're saying, you can never take them back. So they're stuck with them. So I guess it's another.
This brings up a good thing. Okay. Well, so my mom asked me if I like do facial, what's this called? Like razoring, or I don't want to call it shaving. This is not shaving. And I said, yeah, because a while ago, like probably 10 years ago, some guys were like, okay, Burt Reynolds, which I didn't understand the reference, but they were talking about my peach fuzz mustache, and it made me so incredibly insecure and feel not feminine. Their words did that. That I have now done, I don't face razoring, whatever it's called.
Tracy informed us it's deplaning.
Deplaning.
She put it, and that's what it's called.
Oh,
so it's when women get the peach fuzz off their face, whatever.
So you don't, it doesn't have to happen very often, but when I sweat at the gym like a real woman, okay, I have that hairline of sweat. And so when they called me that, I was like, oh my God, I have a mustache, and I never realized it. And now I'm so conscious about it. I can't unhear those words, right? It doesn't really bother me anymore now, but it did.
So now the words were spoken, which already affected her, but now she's got the thoughts, and it's 10 years later.
And I still remember that.
And she still remembers. So this is a lesson for us to be careful, not just with our thoughts, but then how they come out of our mouths and are directed at people. And I'm really bad about just saying shit. I'm working on it, but it's going to probably be a lifelong.
Call her no filter, because she would just say whatever was happening. And I'm like, Mom.
The Scorpios are known for being blunt, but I probably took it to the next level, or maybe the next level after that.
Yeah,
so
a little too far.
Yeah. And it's, it's not very nice. So it's one of my things.
It's one of the things you're working on, right? Opportunities for growth.
Okay.
We're on to the 7 and the 7 of Swords. What I really love about this is everything about this card is deceptive, but we're going to get into the real meanings when we go through Swords in a couple of weeks. But think about that, the thoughts are being held by the pointy end. All I can hear is like Arya Stark, stick them with a pointy end kind of thing, where it's
needle.
Yeah, you're experiencing low quality of mind because you're pretending in that way that everything's okay, but you're holding the thoughts, the part that hurts. And we'll get into way more meaning on this card, but just by looking at it, it's like, yeah, something's not right here. Why would he be handling them all with the sharp ends, with the pointy ends? And then on to with the 8 of Swords, which is a card that looks so doom and gloom. The thoughts imprison the person. And of course, they're blinded. So you could say thoughts imprison the blinded person. There's lots of references you could make to that. But this is, again, experiencing that low quality of mind. The prison could look like she built it herself. They built it themselves there. But this is where it comes in that your thoughts can make a prison out of you. A prisoner out of you, not a prison. You become a whole prison with your thoughts. You
make your own prison.
Yes.
Okay. Number 9.
The 9.
And here we have thoughts hanging over a person. So we are experiencing like a low quality, and this is fear and anxiety
or worry. I always like
worry. Worry.
Like unable to sleep, sort of the thoughts are hanging over you. I think that paints a really good picture of, we've all heard that. That's a saying.
Well, right? You can almost see when you're thinking the bubbles and all the thoughts, right? I mean, if you imagine like all the things coming out of your head that you're thinking about, and they really can just hang over you. So that's what this is depicting here, I think. On the 10 of Swords.
Jump.
The thoughts are stabbed in the back of a person, and the deepest sword, and Jamie noticed this, I did not notice this, but the deepest of the swords is in the heart.
If you look closely, the sword that's down the furthest is right in the back where the heart would be.
But the actual meaning, this is actually high quality, because what we've realized when we get here and all of this has happened to us is that we're done. That's it. There's no going back here. So this is actually a high quality of mind thought.
Because you're ready to move on.
Because you're not putting up with this shit anymore. You're out of here.
So. All right. No, you got to read the thing we wrote, because you said it and it was so funny.
Okay. What? Finality. There's no turning back now. You're over it. You're over it. There's too many backstabbing bitches. So that's it.
So like leaving the situation because you've been stabbed in the back so many times.
Yeah, exactly. So you're done.
So those thoughts about
and actually the pain is really already over, because you've already been stabbed. I mean, you've experienced it. So now you're going to get up and walk away from this and move on to the next thing and leave them people. Okay. On to the page.
The page. with the page, notice the position of how he's holding the sword. It's like he's a batter getting ready to swing. So this is, our thoughts are held at the ready. They're preparing us to take action, to swing, to use them in a way that would be beneficial, you know, and that ball player kind of stance shows that he's just at the ready with all of his thoughts. He's, you know, maybe he's done the research, or he's prepared himself for whatever lies ahead mentally. He's mentally ready for that. So this is where we're experiencing the high quality of mind. Over to the Knight. Oh, it's me. Sorry. I got this. Okay. The Knight in his actions, look at how he, like, the sword is out ahead and he charges forward. So that's charging forward with your words first. What I relate this card to is that fools rush in. This is, you're not thinking before you're acting. You know, whatever's going on up here, it's almost like, what? I'm just going to react to whatever it is. I'm going to charge in, throw my words and thoughts out first, not even like contemplating it. So with this, the thoughts are forced ahead and they're rushing in. So this is more of that low quality of mind, because you're not using that reflection and getting yourself to a good place to just be like, I'm ready for this and I don't need to attack first. This almost feels like attack first.
In the Queen, we have the thought, our thoughts are front and center. So notice how the sword, and I have to tell on Jamie.
I knew you were going to.
Jamie, I'm telling on Jamie because sometimes I think
I can't help
she just can't help herself. She measured all the swords, you guys, with a ruler, because she's like, look, her sword is so much bigger than everything.
It really
so
is.
She actually went through the whole deck and measured, and she had to suss that out and make sure. And in fact, it is. All the other swords are about 4.5 centimeters. The Queen's sword is 5 centimeters. And if you were to lay, I should have put this in here, but laying the King and the Queen next to each other, even though his looks as big, he's like, it's zoomed in more for him, so it's not compared to his body. Like, he has a smaller sword than her. So it's just something that I took note of and I had to prove it to myself. And that's my telling on my daughter, because she's a bit, sometimes her Virgo is really rising. Her Virgo is really rising. So here with the Queen, we have our thoughts are front and center, and we also have an inviting hand. So we're inviting people in. Here we are experiencing high quality of mind. With the King, our friend the King, the thoughts are held responsible but relaxed. We're experiencing high quality here. See how it just kind of leans. He's kind of leaned. Nothing's quite perfect. It's just like, I have this thoughts, words, all of this authority, and I'm not wielding it in a way that's like, I'm powerful, I'm direct, I'm in your face. He's kind of like relaxed with it. He's a good king. The good king. The good king. Okay. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on now to our final suit, Pentacles, and the element of Earth, which is definitely, I had to do a lot of, not research, but like connecting on this one as well. So just quickly, what I learned in this like circle of things, okay, we have our minds and our actions and our emotions. So we have those things. We have fire, water, and air up here. But then you have like the pinnacle, which everything is sort of a part of. This is where we experience all those things. So as I was trying to write the lesson and keep it in the same structure, it was almost impossible, because the Earth sign actually deals with our emotions, it deals with our thoughts, it deals with our actions, our passions. So it's definitely a more difficult suit to teach like this, just because it is so much more in depth. But we're going to go over how the Earth element really plays into the Pentacles suits. Okay. Yes. So are you going? No, you go. You go ahead. I'll let you go first. Right. So in tarot, Earth does represent our physical world. Quoting the Lion King, I don't know if you guys know this part of the movie, but it's like when he has Simba up and he's like, everything the light touches is your kingdom. Well, everything the light touches is the Earth's kingdom of
physicalities and what you can see and feel and touch, all of that, that's earth ruling stuff. So when we're thinking about the earth or the Pentacles cards, that's everything. Do you see how it's like it just got so much bigger because it's all the stuff outside of ourselves also. So it includes our bodies, just to make that very clear. We don't talk about it too much in this part, but it does include your physical body.
Well, something I thought was interesting that you brought up was that the star inside the pentacle with its 5 points is representing everything, like universal. So we've got the four elements and spirit in there. So that kind of gives you a clue as to what earth is. Earth, even though it's this earth energy about our material world and things that we collect and the things that we deal with here in this earthly plane,
things we touch,
our possessions and all of that. It's also everything. So that can remind you that it's not just,
it's big.
It's pretty big.
It's big. Lots of room for interpretation within these cards. So even though this is all about our physical world, it really wouldn't do us much good to have the cards represent physical things. So instead, what the cards truly represent is our relationship with all of our physical things. That's the best way that you can put it simply, that Pentacles represents our relationship with the physical world, with all the things, job, money, stuff, houses, cars, people, pets, ourselves, our own bodies, even.
Our health.
Okay. It's not time yet.
Where'd you leave off?
Earth energy manifests.
Okay. So earth energy is manifestation. So these are the things that are connected with the earth energy manifestations, personal resources, money, business. They all have a place in our lives. Having or not having your needs met forces you to grow and change. So
that's what the relationships are about, the having or not having, and how that affects you in your daily lives and your reactions to all of that.
So you can think of the earthly resources on a spectrum. Again, here we go with our spectrum.
I like spectrum.
With the base level being our needs are not met. Scarcity and all that.
The scarcity
and
mindset.
On the high end, there's not.
Did I write this bad?
Did you write that? Am I reading this right? Spectrum, the base level, our needs are not met, or there is not enough. We call it the lack mindset.
A lack mindset or scarcity mindset.
On the elevated end of the spectrum, resources are given to you with ease or through your own efforts. It's a mindset of there is plenty for all, and we deserve to have our needs met. And this is an abundance mindset. So we have lack mindset and abundance mindset.
There you go. Stuff comes to you easily, or you have to work really hard or be deserving or like have some kind of special thing in order to get what you need. So it's the needs not being met.
So here's a few examples of the lack versus abundance associations. Yes. I never have enough time.
Who can relate to that? Because I do say that. Oh,
so that
I annoy myself now.
So that is a lack mindset versus I fill my time with what I truly value.
Not scrolling on Instagram. Although I do it anyway.
We put down our phone instead of having like 6 hours a day of.
That's excessive. Who has that? I'm checking your screen time next week. That's
my screen time reminds me of how much time I spend scrolling. Okay, so that's one. The second one is I didn't apply for a promotion because there are people more qualified than me. This is a lack mindset.
Not going after your goals and stuff because you think that you're not worthy in some other way. So that's like an unworthiness sort of.
Versus I deserve to be paid well for my skills. Believing in yourself.
Being like, I deserve this pay raise. You're going to give it to me or I'm out of here.
And our last example, our association, I stay in my relationship because I don't think I'll find better. That's a lack mindset versus I choose relationships that uplift me.
And with relationships, this could even be like friendships.
Yeah.
I have to openly admit to my 17-year-old son that I've been in relationships due to lack of choices, maybe. And I didn't want to be alone, or like it was just easy. I was like, I call them relationships of convenience, because why not? I don't know. Like, I didn't have a reason to say no. This was my 18-year-old self. I'm more elevated now, but and you can trim people out of your life, or relationships out of your life that don't serve you, because they're taking up that valuable resource of your time, your mind, everything, your breath, your ear, your shoulder, like whatever they're getting from you. All right, you went through this. So a quick note on the Pentacles associations with the zodiac earth signs. And again, I have the statements that are readily available everywhere, but I added a little something to them to make it like have more weight. The Taurus statement is I have, which I love this because they're about their possessions and they like the richness of things. We think about the Empress. Isn't that the Taurus card?
Mm-hmm.
I only know that because my sister's a Taurus, so I pay attention to her. But the Taurus I have resources to touch, collect, and own. So that is about their stuff and feeling the richness of life. So those things are what they count. With Virgo, their statement is I analyze. like
She has some guilt here because I called her out on measuring the swords.
it was gonna nag at me if I didn't, so that I could be like, I knew that sword was bigger. I had to prove it. So Virgo is I analyze. And I added, I analyze the resourceful world around me. So there's an abundance of things to analyze. That's a way to look at that Virgo, I analyze, instead of being like critical and being like nitpicking. With Virgo, it's I use.
No, Capricorn.
Oh, see how Virgo I am? It's like it's all Virgo. With Capricorn, it's I use. There are other places that say I achieve. I think they both fit, but I use the Capricorn I use so that I could add resources to achieve success. So the Capricorn uses the resources they have to achieve success, because that is what they are about. That is that sea goat climbing that mountain. All right, we're going to switch gears and talk about the symbology. I already have the card up there, so I'm doing my job. Love that for me. Originally, really quickly, the Pentacles were called coins like 500 years ago when I was reading them. And so it just, things change over time, but it makes sense that they were called coins because it is the suit that deals with, like money and business and people struggling with money and like the haves and the have-nots. But we're going to substitute the word pentacle for the word resource. So we're going to talk about how the resource shows up in each of the cards. Over to you.
Okay. In the ace, we look at our resource is gifted to us from the universe.
Look at it. So nicely delivered.
So here we are experiencing resource abundance.
Yeah. This is an abundance card. Like, yay.
In the two,
right?
Our resources are being weighed or balanced.
So I almost put in juggling because it does look like he's a juggler. So use words that feel comfortable for you. Like they're balancing out, he's juggling them. He's trying to figure out which one. He's trying to have both, but evenly, probably comfortably.
Experiencing resource balances. In the three, our resource bridges a gap.
This was a stretch for me, you guys. It was really hard to find how this symbolized teamwork, but that is what I see, is the bridging of the gap where he's built. I almost want to say a buttress. I've seen stuff and I'm supposed to remember the names of, architecture, but I don't know. I was trying to think of like Notre Dame and things, like stuff that holds up the buildings that allow people to walk through. I was like, that's teamwork. Definitely. That's how people come together. So it's bridging that gap. That's where the resource lies.
So this is abundance here.
Abundance mindset, or abundant resource. What are we saying?
Experiencing resource abundance.
Resource
abundance. Resource
that's
abundance. That's what we're saying.
Yes.
And then with the four, we are seeing resources being hoarded.
Do you guys totally get? My mom uses the word miser.
I call him the miser.
But that word is very unfamiliar to me, so I have to say something else. I call him a hoarder of resources because I love that show. Hoarders.
So here in this card, we're experiencing a lack of experiencing resource lack.
Right. So this would be like, you're hanging on to everything because you might not get any more.
Yeah, because
So,
you're worried there's not enough.
yeah, you're
to
like,
go
oh,
around.
nobody can have mine.
And we
Can't
know
share.
that there's plenty to go around. And that's why we manifest what we want.
That's right. That's what witches do, right? Spells.
That's what witches do.
That's what we do. All right, with the 5, our resources are in a window. This is my perception of it. That is a stained glass window to me. So the resources are in a window and they're not yet attainable. Even though I still see this as a card of hope, they are lacking now. The card actually means lack. And it's because they cannot gain the thing that's only like a sign for them. So this is experience resource lack for sure. To the 6, I love this because the resources are shifting. If you look how one side of the card has 2 coins and the other side has 3, and he's like giving money on one side or something, and the other people are still waiting, that it's the shifting thing. Mom, what's those things called that people used to use that did this, that counted the beads and counted stuff?
Abacus.
An abacus. It does sort of remind me of like the abacus where they're pushing more coins to this side versus that side. I don't know why that picture comes to mind, but that's how you can see that the resources are shifting from one side to the other. It doesn't mean that it's a negative thing. It's just how we learn to give, receive. Yes.
So here we are experiencing resource balancing.
Balancing. So I couldn't put lack and I couldn't put abundance. So now we're
It's somewhere in the
balancing.
middle.
Yes, we're balancing again. When we go on to the 7, Kat thinks his face looks like not happy, and
Yeah, I don't think if you look at his face,
she just thinks he's
the
not
closest
happy.
thing that I can describe him as pensive. So he's thoughtful, he's thinking, but he's definitely not happy. I would not describe that facial expression as a happy person.
This is assessing our resources, right? We've taken the time, we've grown it, we're looking at our resources. What exactly he's doing, it's more in like the planning stage is what I think, but he's assessing his resources that he has. And this is experiencing resource abundance. If you have to decide what you're doing with all of it, then you have enough to decide. You're not holding on to it. So this would be an abundance card. Over to the 8. I love this guy. He represents me when I was like 20 to 25. I just worked really, really hard all the time. Got very proficient at my craft. We work to create our resources. So he's making things that will live out into the world. This is definitely a card of experiencing abundance because he's making enough so that people could come and buy him and he can push him out. And there's no worry for him. He's just diligently working away. So we work to create our resources and we experience abundance.
In the 9, we see that our resources are secure and we can enjoy ourselves. So this is definitely experiencing resource abundance.
And how sometimes it's not easy to tell what the signs are doing, the suits are doing, but the way that she has her hand on it, like she's very comfortable that it's there, but she's looking away to enjoy herself elsewhere. She's not like with the last cards, like, or the 7, he's contemplating, he's like, oh, I got all this stuff. Okay, now what? We got to figure this out. With her, she's like, I'm comfortable with everything that I have. I can actually go enjoy myself and not really worry about it. With the 10.
In the 10, it's raining resources. Oh my gosh, they're falling from the sky. There's so much abundance in this card that the resources are falling from the sky.
I love that. So experiencing abundance just from like all of the gifts falling into your lap. When we go to the page, this is an interesting card that if you're not really truly looking at it, it can slip past you. But the pinnacle or the resource is hovering like just above his hands. He's not truly holding it. It's like just barely there. He's like waiting for it to actually fall into his hands. So this is the resource floating just above and not made real yet. I said it wrong. Not yet made real.
Not yet made real.
My mom said I put the modifier in the wrong place.
That's fine. No, you said that right. It's not yet made real.
And so this is experiencing resource abundance because it's manifestation that he's having come into his hands. Like this is making something that he knew or thought or attracted, and it's falling into his hands. It's not just there yet, but it's coming to him. Over to the Knight. Oh, it's me. Sorry. our resource is firmly in our hand. Do you see the grip difference now? Like if you look at the two cards, you're like, oh yeah, that guy definitely didn't have a hold of it. But this, our resource is firmly in our hand. And the way that I see it is it's a seed to plant and grow and then harvest in that unplowed, no, it's plowed but ready that
for planting field.
Yeah, like behind him, he knows what he's going to do with this. This is all the ambition with, like, I know what I'm doing with my resources, I'm going to turn it into more resource. So this would definitely be experiencing resource growing. So now we're growing our resources in a way. Over to the queen.
And in the queen, look how gently she holds her resources, and
like
she's
a baby.
Yes, like a little baby, and she's nurturing it, and she's looking at it like a child. So here she's experiencing abundance and care and nurturing. With the, is that enough on that one? You want me to say more?
I was just gonna stare at her a little longer. Yeah, she's pretty. She's got all the greenery, all the nurturing. She's just like, I love this place. I love this little baby thing, resource that I have. Okay.
With the king, he is our resource is proudly displayed on a raised knee and admired. So here we are experiencing resource abundance.
Yeah, if you look down at his foot, he has it like up on a little block. And he's like, boom, look what I got, y'all. Very much about that. Like, I have a lot. I'm secure with it. I feel good about it. Resource abundance. I don't even.
Okay. Yeah. So
that was our lesson for tonight. We so appreciate you being here with us. We're going to do the homework now. And we made the homework really easy.
Or fun.
Yeah,
no, I think it's fun.
It's fun.
I think
she
it will be
something different than last week.
I want something easier. Last week was kind of a chore. So this week we made it fun.
So our homework tonight, or for this week, is to lay out the two suits that we talked about, Pentacles and Swords, but only the cards 2 through 10, because this has people or things that you can interpret more in it.
Yeah, so those cards are really seeds where you can actually make a story out of, which is what we want you to do.
We want you to write a story as if each card is a still picture from a movie. And so you're in charge of, how did this person get into this scene, or who did they meet, or like, if you guys ever saw that movie Date Night, it was really funny. Can't think of that.
What happened here? If you look at the cards in sequence, and as they're one long story, tell the story of what happened. Make up the story. It doesn't have to.
It can be as fictional or realistic as you want.
It does not have to relate to what the card's actual meaning is. It can be something fun, but it just helps you connect with the cards and just, get to know them.
It hones your observation skills so that you're really looking at what is happening in the scenes. And that will later, as we get into the cards and learn their definitions, when you're familiar with the scenes, you can start connecting the definitions or the meanings behind them. Because these are kind of cryptic. They're not just like in your face what they mean. So we're deciphering the crypticness of them. Is that a word, crypticness? It's a word now. It's on YouTube. So the crypticness of the cards is being explored while you observe all of the little elements and make up these stories about them. You can write it down in your journal. You can share it with people. You can share it with us. We'd love to know what you come up with.
Yes.
But that's the homework.
Thanks for joining us for week 6 of our journey through the tarot.
This week we explored the suits of Swords and Pentacles, which represent the element of air and earth, or our thoughts and our earthly material existence and experience.
Next week we explore the court cards.
The court cards, kings, queens, knights, and pages, are sometimes hard for beginner tarot readers to interpret.
When we look at these as a group organized by suit, we'll begin to understand that each card has a similar meaning, only it relates to either water, fire, air, or earth.
Once you understand this, you'll have a much easier time interpreting these cards in a reading.
Please be sure to spend time with your cards in study, reflection, and practice.
It's really the only way to learn to become a better tarot reader.